Days of Heaven was Terrence Malick's second film as a director after Badlands. It came out in 1978, 5 years after his debut, and it marks a major leap forward for him in terms of style. One of the most notable things about it is the narration, where Badlands also had a somewhat detached, contradictory narration by this 15-year-old girl who was describing a mass murder spree as if it were part of a romance novel. This movie, the narrator is a 12-year-old girl, even younger, and she's narrating events that she is only tangentially connected to.
Me and my brother, it just used to be me and my brother. We used to do things together. We used to have fun. We used to roam the streets. There was people suffering of pain and hunger. Some people, their tongues were hanging out of their mouth.
Most of the main action in the story is between the hero of the film, his girlfriend, and this young farmer that they contrive to have her fall in love with so that she can marry him and then inherit his estate when he dies. He's very ill, supposedly. And it doesn't quite work out that way, of course. But as we, the audience, are witnessing these momentous events, and we're right in the middle of it, and we have a larger sense of what's happening, her point of view is limited. There are many times where she seems to be straining to understand what's going on or pretend that she understands more than she actually does understand. There are times when she wanders off on a tangent and you get a sense of the cultural forces that have shaped her.
They told everybody they were brother and sister. My brother didn't want nobody to know. You know how people are. You tell them something, they start talking. I met this guy named Ding Dong. He told me the whole earth is going up in flames. Flames will come out of here and there, and they'll just rise up. The mountains are gonna go up in big flames. The water's gonna rise in flames. There's gonna be creatures running every which way. Some of them burnt, half their wings burning. People are gonna be screaming and hollering for help. See, the people that have been good, they're gonna go to heaven and escape all that fire.
Suckers! I need suckers!
But if you've been bad, God don't even hear you. He don't even hear you talking.
There's more talk of heaven and hell and God and the idea of guilt and punishment in this movie than in most American movies. There's also more attention paid to work.
From the time the sun went up till it went down, they were working all the time. No, non-stop. Just keep going. You didn't work, they'd ship you right out of there. They don't need you. They can always get somebody else.
What you see when you watch this movie is images of absolutely spectacular physical beauty, but what's happening in the frame is punishing. It's these poor people, mostly immigrants, migrant farm workers, who move from one farm to another during harvest season, working morning, noon, and night. It's just back-breaking, relentless labor, and it's very dangerous, and sometimes people get injured, sometimes they die. They also have good times together. But it's a life of unrelenting toil, and it's no huge surprise that they would want a way out of it.
He was tired of living like the rest of them, nosing around like a pig in a gutter. He wasn't in the mood no more.
So when you look at the plot of this movie, it's like something out of a film noir.
Well, I'm telling you, we gotta do something about it. Can't expect anybody else to.
And most of the time when you see a plot like that in a movie, you get a sense that that plot is the center of everything. Those people are the center of everything. But the way that Terrence Malick makes movies, he's constantly reminding you that they are not at the center of everything. In retrospect, I don't know if you can even call Richard Gere's character the hero of this movie. Not just because the movie distributes its attention pretty democratically between the four major characters, but also because the concept of a hero or a villain is really something that doesn't seem to interest Terrence Malick. This is somebody who has managed to get through 4 significant American films without ever giving us anything resembling a bad guy.
In one way, I felt sorry for him. Because he had nobody to stand out for him, be by his side, hold his hand when he needs attention or something. That's touching.
And one day you wake up, you find you're not the smartest guy in the world. You're never gonna come up with a big score. When I was growing up, I thought I really would. We'll all be gone in a couple of years. Who's gonna care that we acted perfect?
We're the only people who can put everything in perspective. Everybody else is looking at things from their own blinkered perspective. That's what I think all the shots of the land are about, and all the shots of the animals. Throughout the harvest, there are cutaway shots to animals that are either going to escape or be run over by those machines. And when they're out and about, you see herds of buffalo, you see birds, you see all kinds of wildlife.
I could be a mud doctor, checking out the earth underneath.
And there's a sense of a continuum of this particular story that we're fixated on being just one part of something unimaginably vast. The question that I keep asking myself when I watch this film in particular, but all of Malick's movies, is there a God in Terrence Malick's universe? And the way that he photographs nature would seem to suggest that. And I think this movie, more so than any of his other films, gets into biblical imagery. The title Days of Heaven suggests, the Christian concept of heaven, maybe, but any kind of paradise. And there's a lot of allusions to the story of the Garden of Eden. And at one point, after the plot is underway, and this sham marriage, which is about to become a real marriage, has taken place, there's a shot of our young narrator looking at pictures of animals in a book, and the last shot in the sequence is a snake. And by the time we get to the finale of the movie, this all comes together with what suggests a kind of awesome Old Testament punishment for what's been happening. And yet, the movie never quite tips over and suggests that there's cause and effect here, that the behavior of these people somehow brought down the wrath of God or nature. It's just something that happened. The idea of the director as God, I think, takes on more than just a technical meaning here. Peering down on human affairs from high above, from a detached perspective, and taking an interest in what's happening down on Earth, but not intervening. The sense that no one is intervening is something that runs all through this movie. They're left to their own devices, they're left to fend for themselves, There's really no rhyme or reason to why good fortune strikes for them or bad fortune. It's just something that happens. 99 out of 100 Hollywood movies are dedicated to the proposition that your story is important, and by you I mean the character that you're associating with, who's your surrogate. Terrence Malick stands completely in opposition to that. All of his films, to some degree, reinforce the idea that no, it's not about you. You may think it is, but it's not. And this life that you're living is just one infinitesimal part of the cosmos.